This is a big box, and this should contain 1969 RCA CTC 35 color television chassis that hopefully we can revive and get working on again. Yeah, let me get the top off here. And this came via UPS, so we'll see how trashed it is. The sun is not in the best position right now, but it's just an unboxing. I have a feeling this is going to be an absolute nightmare. Not that some of the stuff I haven't resurrected before on this channel hasn't been an absolute nightmare, but this has had a lot of human intervention, not Father Time or the elements intervention. Now, the gentleman who owns this, the story behind it is, it was working, the color demodulation stopped working, he was playing with the color board, he gave up on that, he changed a bunch of parts, then he was watching it in black and white, and it popped, and it's got a dead short or something like that, so he's just shotgunned a bunch of parts at it. And if you could only fill a shotgun with capacitors and just pop one of these chassis with it, you'd have a restorer's vintage restorer's dream. Working my way in here, and I already hear glass rattling around, and I'm taking a look at this, and you know, these wires, when you change a flyback, these wires need to be soldered directly onto the socket. You know, this is electrical tape, masking tape does not have a 30 kilovolt dielectric, and this is, well, it's probably some of the glass we hear banging around. I probably, ooh, yellow Chinese capacitors. That's a little bit exciting. I probably would have packaged the $50 and $60 tubes separate. The tuner is in there, and RCA has this right here to mount the tuner to. You got 2 1/4 inch there, and this, the tuner should just sit right here very nicely. RCA knew their stuff would fail and the chassis would need to go into the shop to be serviced. Let me get this thing completely unpacked, and then we'll do a quick analysis here. Again, this is a CTC 35, like 1969, color rectangular console set chassis. I'm going to tilt the camera on its side here. What is all of this black stuff? What is this? What kind of capacitors are these? I have a decent working CTC 28. Maybe I'll just hit him up and ask him if he wants the whole set working. I think U-Ship's doing about $1 a mile right now with fuel prices. So what did we do here instead of when we... And then here he said he changed the diodes. Why? I'm pretty sure that these are germanium, and he put silicon signal diodes in there, and you can't, generally you cannot change from like a 1N60 to what are those, like 1N4148 or something. You can't change from silicon to, I mean, from germanium to silicon, especially in a circuit like this. And what happened to the stakes that hold the board in? What the hell happened to this? So I guess the good thing is UPS didn't trash it too bad. And rather than look at it from the perspective of how bad it is, I'm going to take this from the perspective of we can fix this, we can solve this, no matter how much intervention it needs at this point. Kind of show the, if I can do this one-handed, the way this works on RCA. So we got to get this out of the way, and then what happens is this goes down onto here. Okay, I need two hands. Basically, these two prongs go down onto these two, and then this holds the top of it. So those go in down there, and then there's even a screw provided here that this little arm locks into, like that, and then your tuner is held nice and secure to your chassis for transport. Then the controls, I believe they mount like this, facing out of the front of the set, but there's holes drilled to mount it like this for transport. So it has a new flyback, and there's the broken 3A3. No big deal, we have plenty of those. Yeah, it's clean, and it's not over recapped. You know, he didn't change the micas, which is a good thing. It's not over recapped. This board is pretty much stock. Generally on these sets from this era, these capacitors like this, they can get lossy, and they don't really, well, they can short. I've seen these orange and red drops that are here short and take out these blue resistors. That's kind of a common thing. But I don't know why he had trouble with the eyelets. You know, the eyelets are a big problem on these RCAs. This is what they're supposed to look like that. And all you do is heat them up with an iron. You just Like if you wanted to get the board out, you just lift up right here and heat that up with the iron and it'll come out. You just work your way around. Or what you can do is heat those up with an iron and then take compressed air and blow the solder out of them, but then you have a ton of cleanup to do. But you should never need to remove these boards, ever. I don't know, maybe it was just, I don't know. But overall, I guess it's not, again, is this a splice in the focus wire here? This black wire has, what, 4,000 volts on it, 4,000 to 6,000 volts. Is this a splice? Reminds me of kind of my second or third job I went and applied for, and it was to straighten out the PA system in a nightclub, and the guy that was doing it before me was literally using Band-Aids out of the first aid kit on the speaker wires and RCA cables, using Band-Aids as insulation on twisted connections. I never thought I'd get that job, and I don't think they could say you're hired fast enough. Just a note on these CTC chassis. This is something that Al, veteran TV extraordinaire, educated me on. You always want to upgrade this tube from a 3A3 to a 3CU3. It's a better tube, less loss. Filaments wound around a post so it can't short. So yeah, you want to upgrade this to a 3CU3. And what a lot of guys do is they'll fan cool this transformer. These have a very high failure rate. These flybacks are very hard to get. When they do show up, they're costly and they're worth it. They put like a muffin fan here with a screen over it to keep the X-rays in, and they put a vent over here because you have to have cross flow. So yeah, with like a fine screen mesh. There's plenty of documentation of how to do that online. So if you're gonna run these things for a lot of time, you want to put a 3CU3 rectifier and then fan cool this thing with like a small 12-volt muffin fan. Manipulated plus violated equals malleolated. Just like tweaked plus whacked equals twacked. Okay, do we got our manipulated English words installed into our memory system now? I don't think this is going to be as bad as the initial thought would be. I certainly hope he didn't cut the coax there. This is, I believe this might be the AFC. I don't color, or this might be the color. I need to peel that off of there. Stand by. Oh my. He did. He cut the coax and then spliced it back together like that. Wow, that's pretty bad. Would it stop it from working? Probably not. Would it affect the performance? Probably not. Is it a sound practice with high frequency RF? Absolutely. This is just kind of a general thought. Again, I'm not directing it, but it's just a general thought I've had, where maybe these repair videos do sort of a disservice, because I've been doing this TV stuff, electronic, automotive, all of that, fixing just about anything since the mid-90s. And someone comes along and watches a few videos and they think that they can automatically jump in with that same level of, what do you want to call it, mechanical aptitude and knowledge and diagnostic ability and understanding. I've often wondered if maybe these videos do sort of a disservice to the thing as a whole. And I can understand some of the boomer purists really believe that. They really believe that YouTube videos are ruining the hobby, and YouTube videos have ruined a lot of hobbies, let me tell you. But yeah, that's just kind of a random thought. So do these videos kind of spark interest where interest should not be sparked? Do they light a fire that would be better not lit? CTC 35 chassis, I'm going to dig into this. I'm working on getting my RCA test jig set up so we can test this chassis out and play with the jig a little bit later in the video. I got the schematics copied. I've been looking at this. I kind of noticed that it looks like he spray painted. You can see the overspray there. And it also looks like he went as far as to spray paint this silver, this shield. And spray paint, as far as I know, is an insulator. And there's a little grounding. This is the color oscillator tube. There's a little grounding tang here. So the spray paint will insulate this so it doesn't make contact with that. So this tube is going to have a date with the wire wheel. And also, if you look at this, it looks like he wire brushed or used steel wool to clean this all up, which, okay. It's what you call a beautiful corpse. It's like, yeah. Looks like this and the transformer were recently spray painted. What do they call that? A Krylon rebuild? Yes, Krylon rebuild. I dug out the RCA factory service manual and took it and photocopied it, and I'll send this back with the set. And the reason why I like the RCA, the actual RCA service manual, is it shows the details of what's under the board. It shows all your traces here, so you can literally follow the thing you're working on from the top. And if we take the PW700 board, which is this one right here, you can see we can follow, like right here is our stake. You can see what all is grounded to that stake, what all is grounded to this stake. So you can literally just check from the top and make sure that everything's grounded, like this stake and everything that's grounded. You can follow these and find out, make sure that everything's grounded to the chassis. Here's another stake right here, and what all's grounded to that stake. So the stakes, these boards don't have one continuous ground plane that runs around the whole thing. They literally use the stakes to ground separate little areas of the board. So this is what the RCA factory service data shows you. And it also shows you like this, the top of the chassis, the layout, all the controls, and here's the under chassis layout. So it kind of shows you where everything's supposed to be. Unfortunately, there's not one for how all the wiring's hooked up, but we should be able to figure that out. And of course, the factory schematic. When working on stuff like this, good service data is what either makes it a win or a fail. If you don't have good service data, forget it. And I even photocopied this, and I'm going to send this back because this explains in very good detail how to do the convergence and deflection yoke setup. And this shows how to step by step how to do the convergence right. Not by just twisting knobs, but actually how to do the full setup of static and dynamic convergence. So yes, the key to having these things work and work right, and the ability to fix them and get them to have a great picture, is based on the service data you have. So I'm going to start by checking all of the ground different areas of the board that need to be grounded. I'm going to check to make sure all the diodes are in right. I'm going to check to make sure all the capacitors are in the right place with the right value. I'm going to go over the recap, the replacement of the electrolytics underneath. And I'm going to just do kind of a general check everything out on this. And then later if I find anything, I'll bring you up to date. I'll go through the step-by-step process a little bit, and we'll hook this up to the jig, and that'll be a new experience. I'm inspecting these capacitors. I didn't find any ground issues with the board here. I broke this, so I got to replace this when I was looking at it in the first clip. But I also found a, let's see, where is it? A solder joint that didn't stick right there. So I'll have to fix that. I question whether that's authentic or not. I have never seen a 600 volt electrolytic. You know, you can print these PVC wrappers and put any numbers you want on them. You know, that's not a standard value. 47 at 450 or 68 at 450 would be a standard value, but definitely not 50 at 600. So I think that's a fake. I've never heard of this brand either, and all of these are you know, 30 microfarad at 500 volts. There'd be a 33 at 450, 22 at 450. That's legit. These capacitors are not legit. I wonder if he got these from one of those Radios R Us recap it yourself places, and they rebranded them, because MIEC capacitors, is that something? I've never seen that brand. Oh, and they're all 105C too. Really? 105C 600 volt axial electrolytics. Yes, yeah, sure, right. Just like 18650 batteries that are 25 amp hours each. StudioElectronics.biz. Okay, this is for your guitar guys that think that leaky bumblebees are worth a lot of money. $9. What I would have done is I would have come over here to DigiKey, electrolytic capacitors. Now the highest rated capacitor in this thing is 450 volt. So I would have come over here to that is on the schematic right there, that is a 50 microfarad capacitor on the 270 volt line. So I would have come over here and I would have selected 47, because I know that 47 is a much more common value than 50. And then I would have seen what voltages they have available here. So 450, 500, 500, I guess there is a 500. Let's see what they have in stock. I'm not going to ask for axial lead. Let's see what they got here. So here we have a Cornell Doublier for $2 and $3.43. That's 450 volt. Then we got a Cornell Dublier. We don't have any. These are all legit though, and they're half the price. Here's a Nichicon. Nichicon 47 at 450 for $2.95. Here's a Nichicon 47 at 500 for $4.43. I'm almost tempted to look at this. Let's see, capacitors. Oh boy. There's a 47 at 450 for $3. Why did you need to go 50 at 600 for $9? Here's 100 at 600 volts for $10. I believe these are relabeled. I don't believe these are legit. The stuff off DigiKey, this stuff is all legit. That's why I only buy off DigiKey or Mouser. I don't buy off this other stuff. He had these capacitors, these grounded to this through this green wire. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie them directly onto this ground tie point right here, just to try and get some of this stuff that's flopping around tied down a little bit. Here's another bad solder joint. But other than this, I'm really, like I said, I cleaned that up and I remounted these, and I'm going to replace this one. I'm checking everything, and even though it looks like this, I'm not seeing anything other than a few cold solder joints. I'm not seeing anything that is backwards or not hooked up right. It doesn't seem too bad. So I replaced this junk with a Panasonic 47 at 250. And just the feel of the Panasonic is so much higher quality. And yeah, I've gone through this, and despite how you think it might look, it actually is all correct. And yeah, I did neaten up a few little things here, but I'm not really seeing anything wrong. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't something that's shorted when we put power to it, but you always want to start with a thorough visual inspection and familiarizing yourself with what you are working on. I talked to the owner, and he said there was some arcing from this board, this color board, and so he pointed out the areas, and I'm inspecting it for carbon tracking, because we know these RCAs do carbon track, and there might be a problem right, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, but right here there might be a carbon tracking problem there. I'm going to clean that up. But he also said it was arcing from over here too, which of course we'll find that when we power it up on the jig. But I might clean that up right there, because that really does look a little bit baked. So carbon tracking is when you get 2 points, like if this point right here is got 300 volts on it, and then you have the ground right here. What happens is the board gets something on it, or gets dirty, or gets something conductive, and it starts burning. It starts getting hot, and then the board burns. And the board actually becomes conductive. It, like, when it's burnt, it's conductive. That's carbon tracking. So yeah, I mean, you could call that almost a mystery short, but it's not. It's carbon tracking. Deal with a lot of it in automotive and ignition systems. Spark plugs get carbon tracked, wires and coils carbon track. Anywhere there's high voltage, you get carbon tracking. You can get carbon tracking. Zenith flybacks. I got another place here that looks like a clear carbon track right there. From that pin to that ground. That looks like pure carbon tracking to me. This right here, this looks like a long carbon track too. Right here, about an inch long. There's the best way to stop carbon tracking. Clean it up, scrape it, drill a hole in it. So after looking at this thing for a while and cleaning a bunch of paste flux, like this right here. After cleaning a bunch of this stuff off of where the stakes were, where he redid the stakes and the carbon tracking was, I have a feeling that he didn't clean, well, I don't have a feeling, he didn't clean the flux off of this, because I was scraping it off with a screwdriver and then cleaning it off with brake cleaner and a rag. Yeah, when you use paste flux, you need to clean it off thoroughly because it can become conductive and cause carbon tracking. Maybe not on a transistor radio that's like 3, 6, or 9 volts, but on something like this, it's got 400 volts sitting next to 0 volts, it can become conductive. So yeah, if you use flux, always clean it off on high voltage stuff. I took this to the wire wheel so it'll actually make contact, conductive contact with the ground tab there. Here's the test jig, and this is basically just like a portable RCA color TV, except there's nothing in it. Well, I think we should open it and see what's in it. So we got a high voltage gauge, which is unfortunately missing the cover. I should try and find something for that. Then we have our vertical and horizontal yoke impedance, and we have our connectors, ground, high voltage. Unfortunately, the high voltage is broken off, and it has this, and I don't know what was in this. A fuse? I don't know, it's missing. So I'm going to just probably have to bypass that. I hope it was nothing like a resistor. These are to hook up to the speaker. I guess there's a speaker inside here, and then these are your adapters for the yoke. The convergence just ends up getting bypassed. So you got your yoke and your CRT connection, and this is just a standard like 25X style CRT. The male, this is what would be on the back of the CRT, so this plugs into the set. So let's open this thing and see what's in it. On the back, it's just it's like the cabinet was, I don't know what this was, a CTC something. Yeah, it's just a TV cabinet that they repurposed. It's very cool. Look at it, it even has a model number scratched out. I think I actually have one of these. It's a solid state. I think I've worked on it. It had a bad vertical output capacitor. Doesn't this look appetizing right here? This is from Thailand. And, you know, with all of these going-ons in the world, the shortages of grain and that, you know, a lot of pet food is made with a lot of grain, and with all these coming food shortages they're talking about, and processing plants that are blowing up and all that. If you're not prepped up and stored up on your pet food, you might not be able to get it. I mean, they're talking about severe food shortages for humans. Well, I think this stuff is probably going to go away a lot sooner. This is an old girl. She's old. Look at that. No carrageenan. This is made in Thailand. It's probably full of microplastics, but it doesn't have carrageenan in it. Okay, well, this is interesting. So here's a high voltage, and here's our dropping resistor for the meter that's up there on the front. That's kind of interesting. There's the speaker right there for the sound. Looks like we have a couple matching transformers here for the horizontal. Turn the light on. Let me do that. So you can see there we have probably, that's the big one there, standard transformers, probably vertical impedance matching. And then that weird looking thing with the numbers is probably, it looks like a flyback kind of. That is probably for the horizontal yoke matching. The convergence is interesting. It looks like it has static convergence with no dynamic coils. There should be a coil wrapped around those, all three of those, that connects to your board. And it looks like it's just a delta gun tube. Delta gun tube with... I did test it. It tested good. So this is cool. This should work. And this is going to come in handy. I'd like to start doing a lot more color stuff. Looks like she's enjoying her, whatever you want to call it there, carrageenan free. I wonder how this device would do at cleaning these pins off. I found this thing some time ago. I think it's a shoe buffer, but who the hell buffs out shoes anymore? Has anyone here ever used a shoe buffer to clean off the pins on their CRT? You know what, I need to get some safety glasses. Well, like I said, destroy it before you could even use it. Check this out. I'm cleaning it up. It says, etched right into the phosphor, test tube, high kV. I guess that's how you don't get desperate and sell it to a customer. Put it in a customer set. How cool. I think we're going to have fun with this. The option to have this sitting to the side and have the color chassis sitting here exposed and just being able to work on it, not having to crawl around on the ground in a cabinet, that's huge. So the socket is still dirty and flaky, but this is how strong this thing is, this CRT. Let's see, we could 6.3 volts. This is the cutoff. This is how much range we have on this thing. It's like a brand new tube. Probably has less than 50 hours on it, if that. So there you go. Super strong tube. It's just this is flaky. This thing is dirty. That's why I was trying to clean it. This thing right here is pretty much just a 150 ohm resistor. to bypass the cathode of the vertical output tube and simulate the convergence. So this just goes in here, I think. I might have to pull the focus tube out. Guess it's got a little streamer there so you don't leave it in and give it back to the customer. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of gets in the way there. Wonder if we should watch cathode current on this or if we should just power it up. The yoke connects here and then the CRT connects here and then we got a ground and that's it. I have a 3CU3 here for the high voltage rectifier. Yes, I take the Camaro, I take the muffler and the cats off my V8 Camaro to let the world know how much gas I'm burning by how noisy my car is. I'm stupid. I make bad financial decisions with my life. Okay, even though it's not ideal, the lighting out here, the benefit of being in the sun is that if there's any smoke, I'll see where it's coming from. So I got a 500 watt bulb here limiting, oh, here we go. And we have nothing with the bulb. We have nothing. Finger the circuit breaker a little bit. I think I checked this and it was good. So what is going on here? Well, I short the plug out and I get a nice bright 500 watt bulb. Okay, I'm being a doofus. I guess that guy out on the street with the Camaro lowered my IQ. This is the power switch. So now we have a little bit of light there on the light. It's getting dim. Now as the tubes light up, I'm mainly just looking for smoke at this point. The light's getting brighter. Oh, we have high voltage. And we have somewhat of a raster. Let me bypass the light bulb. Boy, that is really bright. Not that you could see. Wow. Turn the screens were all the way up, but what is that? Almost 25 kilovolts. So, yeah, this is total trash, what I'm getting here. Alright, the image that I'm getting out of this thing is no focus, number one. Number two, it's just smeared bars going vertically across the screen. Number three, there's no activity from the tuner. I think what I need to do, because I'm not familiar with this jig, is I need to find another chassis that is known working and hook it to this jig. I think I have a CTC28. I have to see if it's working. And I'll bring it out here and hook it to this jig and make sure the jig is not causing any problems. This is a CTC28 that's somewhat working. Can't really see it because it's in storage. So it's definitely got some issues. Here's color, and all we get are the green is missing, it looks like. But this is when the color oscillator is out of whack. This is what you get. When your crystal is bad, or your 6GH8's bad, or you need to tweak your color oscillator coil. I'm sure I can bring that in. Let me try and bring it in. But still green is missing. Anyway, regardless, we know this chassis is working, and we can take this outside and hook it to the jig and see if we get the same results. I just need to familiarize myself with the jig. Here's the CTC28, my chassis hooked up to the jig, and look at how clean this is. Compared to the one we've been working on, wow. But check this out, it works. The only thing is the screen controls don't do anything on this. Turning them doesn't affect it. Okay, I got the 28 fired up, and I got a test pattern. The issue with the screen controls was whiskers. So let's get back to that barber poling thing we had in the house. Now watch this when I ground this, because I replaced this socket. Watch how it changes it. Okay, so what we should be able to do is we should be able to adjust this guy right here, the oscillator coil, and bring that in. See how they're getting further apart? Huh. Let me go the other way with it. See, it's speeding back up. Okay, what's going on with this? Now I'm taking the core out of, I'm taking the slug out of the thing. There we go. That's not a good thing. Why doesn't it want to lock? I'm so close. It's like there's no color AFC. There's no color. Okay, let me get a different 6GH8. Okay, there we go. We look fairly good there. So the CTC28 is working. I did have to degauss this thing. So we'll go back to the 35 right now and see if we can diagnose what's wrong with it. What kind of cheap-ass junk is that? What kind of back alley Beijing, what's the name of that town where they make all the junk counterfeit parts in China? There's a name for it. I can't think of the name of the area. province or whatever. So how about this guy? Since the video looks so whacked on this thing, and there's no video making it through. The hell brand of tube is this? I guess that's sort of irrelevant. This looks like it was made by Sylvania with that type of printed on gray text. Like if we look at a Sylvania tube, you see it's the same. Made where? Is that USA? Anyway, that looks like a Sylvania tube to me. I have a video that covers that. You can tell who made the tube by looking at it. That's RCA because the number has got the circle around it. Let's see, who is this? Magnavox. This could be one of those crappy Japanese tubes. It might be. That kind of looks like Sylvania, but it's not printed where Sylvania prints their numbers. We can tell the 6JE6 is GE because it's etched in the glass. And we can tell the damper is RCA because it's got the circle around it. We could tell this one is GE because it's etched in the glass. So, like I say, I have a video with Al, and he filled me in on this. Just because a tube is branded something doesn't mean that's who made it. You got to look at the type of font and paint that was used and how the number was printed on it. This is not pretty. This is just the bottom off of a food container, but I needed to do something to protect that meter, so this is what we got. Just trash. Well, I could probably adjust the horizontal. Let me see. Wow. Man, what is this? This is all kind of twacked. That's turning the fine tuning. I'm going to pull the video out. Okay, if I pull the video out, it goes away. Let's see if I pull this. Oops, that's the IF tube. Something just arced. But you see that? That is accurate. That's exactly what it looks like. That's not blanking. But yeah, something just popped here and I didn't catch it. And I need to pull the high voltage down, but it's still got the sticker on it. I hate to. She has been popped. Oh, better be careful with that. I don't know what these are supposed to be. I'd have to look at the schematic, but I think that's about right. About 22, 23. You don't want the high voltage too high. It'll cause the insulation in the transformer, the flyback, to break down. Yeah, I don't know what to think of this. That's crosshatch, and that's the best I can get it. And yes, it has these big black bars in it. Is this AC hum? Serious AC hum? I need to get the VG91 and start feeding in raw video and trying to figure out where it's going wrong. I changed the video output tube. That's not it. Well, I'm checking some of these voltages on the video output tube, and I disconnected my jig because I don't want the damn thing is so bright. I don't want it to burn the CRT, my jig, up. And I got 8 volts here, and I should have -5. And this is connected to one of those crappy, that capacitor right there with the 0.1 on it. I wonder if that thing is leaky. I think that should have some blanking pulses on it. Okay, so not letting myself get totally frustrated with this, I gave my friend Peter a call, because he's one of the younger guys, but he's kind of brilliant when it comes to the technical side of all this stuff. And we came up with, while I was talking to him, taking pin 2 here, which is the grid, and through a capacitor pulling it off the ground and getting any video information off of there. And you can see when I get any AC signal off of that tube, we lose those hum bars. Now, since I'm getting just barely some video signal through this, he suggested checking the delay line, which I didn't even think of. See, the delay line delays the black and white video from the color, because the color video takes time to process. So there's a delay line between the video, first and second video, and the video out. And since when I pull this out, it doesn't get rid of the bars, or whatever you want to call it, I'm really thinking that the issue is between here and here. So I'm going to stand it up on its side and check that delay line. I know I moved it around, and I'm sure he moved it around, and maybe it's not connected to the right place. So this is the delay line. This is that peaking coil, which it looks like he cut it right there. So maybe we better ohm out that peaking coil and ohm out the delay line. Alright, that thing is measuring 7 ohms, and then we come over here and we have 140 ohms. I don't think that's open. So I wonder if he got it rotated 180 degrees, because he cut it in 2 places here. Interesting. So that capacitor that I was questioning, if I go to one side of it here, man, this is difficult to do holding it, and I do that, it completely shunts that noise off of there. If I go to the other side, nothing. I mean, it changes it a little, but I wonder what that capacitor is all about. I wonder if that's a wrong value. So I'm noticing that turning the AGC affects this, and there's a 40 microfarad on the AGC. I need to find that and see if that's installed correctly. Well, this is interesting. That looks like the capacitor that I put in. The Panasonic, and it looks like it bulged and popped. Why would that happen? There's not that much voltage on there. He had a 160 in there and I put a 250. The hell is going on here? Oh boy, this is all my fault. I made a big mistake here. When I eliminated his ground wire earlier in the video, I thought that that post was tied to the chassis. It is not tied to the chassis. Oops. I make boo-boo. No gold star for me. This is my fault. Wow. So I tied these three capacitors to a B+ line, not ground. Oops, I stupid. I need Camaro with catalytic converter removed and no muffler. And this right here must have been the pop I heard. Oh, jeez. I don't mind admitting I made a mistake. I effed up big time. Alright. Again, my mistake. And I cleaned this up. I tested this capacitor. It's not hurt. And I moved the ground to where we can clearly see it's ground. I moved the 47 over here. This is where it connected on the board. It's clearly connected to ground. I moved the 25 or 33 to here. We can clearly see it's connected to ground. This is where it was connected. So they had these wires connected here and then run clear over to the capacitor. I just moved the capacitor to where it needed to be. So this should, this is definitely, and that is not a cold solder joint. That's good. Well, that was different. Oh boy, that looks a lot better. Well, I wonder what oh yeah, what a difference. Let's see. Want that all the way down, then we want just barely visible line here. Green. There we go, green. All right. Well, that looks a little bit better. That looks a little bit better. Imagine that, it actually locks now. That's, if I turn the color up, we get that. So let me go to color bars. Okay. Well, we don't have any color demod. So it looks like the color oscillator is not running. But that is definitely a much improvement over my Scrogy Sprinkler Demobilizer. And I'm going directly into the IF right now. I am not in the tuner. I am in the IF. So they're definitely, if I turn the color up, I don't believe this guy is running here. It might not be that. It might be these diodes that he put in there. But now we have the color issue to work out, the color demod issue. But that's sort of what I would expect without the color oscillator running, just green. If I turn the tint, it makes no change because there's no color oscillator. Checking our voltages on our color oscillator, so on pin 6, we have 251. Pin 3, we should have 135. And that comes through R721. We have 0. I'm on pin 3 there. So where is R721? R21 right there. So what do we have here? We have 0. What do we have here? We have 250. So is that resistor wide open? Or is it shorted? Really? I don't think I've ever seen an open resistor like that that's just totally wide open. I mean, that's so low it's almost like it's shorted. Let me ohm that out. Let's cut this off. And then let's go to continuity check, and then let's check to there. Sure is, that's shorted. So where is that shorted? Now this, I didn't touch this. So wait a second, I pull the tube out and the short goes away? Really? Now the short is gone. What the? Let's turn it back on and see if we got voltage there now. No, we certainly do not. So did the short come back? No, the short. What is going on here? So look at this. The tube is in there, right? It's at 0 volts. I'm going to pull the tube out. But this tube worked in the CTC28 earlier. Oh, this. Okay, here's a different tube, a 5GH8, and there's 81 volts there. We still don't have any color oscillator. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we have Barber polling rainbow. So this tube has got a dead short in it. Really? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Yeah, now the short has been cleared out. There you go. Wow. So you got a 6GH8. Where's my alignment? Okay, here's my alignment tool. We just insert this into here, and then we turn until we slow this down. I think I went It's enough to give you seizures, isn't it? Let me go. Oh, crap. Oh, shit. Alright, I fixed it. Well. Oh, boy. Let's see here. Let's turn the color saturation down a little bit. Tint. Tint control really doesn't do much. Oh boy. Let me get a new 6GH8. Oh boy, this just keeps getting better. So I got it locked, and the lock is very soft. I went to check this one. The core is broken in this one. The core is broken in this one, and I didn't try and turn these. I know he tried to turn them, but yeah, the core, there should be, I think, 2 cores in this one. This one's broken. Let me see if I can. Yep, that core is broken. You see my lame repair job there. Bark point, yeah, that core is trashed. Yeah, pretty blue glow from the video output. Look at how bad the convergence is on this thing. Having just no dynamic convergence, yeah, no electronic convergence. Look at how bad it is. It's just horrific. I am going to go back into the tuner, I think. So I'm thinking we have a really weak burst signal because it's almost impossible to get this thing to lock. I mean, it just kind of drifts all over the place, and if you rotate the tint control, it just... So yeah, I mean, you can get it to sit there, but it should lock. It's like AFC on an FM radio. It should lock in place. And I believe you peak this one for maximum burst signal. I'd have to read the instructions, but the core is broke. He broke the core in that one. I didn't help by this one. The glue is failing on these. Nice. The glue is ooh, Bark Point cigar xylophone. It just... It doesn't lock because I gotta get this burst core adjusted. I gotta get the burst, the color AFC aligned. Yeah, I believe this is the original problem he was having with it, and why he took the thing out, the color board out. This problem is what started all of this. You want to see the color oscillator? There it is. That's your 3.58 megahertz color oscillator. Well, that sucker is really radiating a lot. No wonder why they got a shield over it. Listen, that's on AM. I'm gonna adjust this. That shield significantly cuts down that 3.58 emissions coming out of that tube. Yeah, I got to get this broken core fixed and get this burst amp online, and then I think we'll be good. The rest of the chassis seems rock solid, but this was the original problem he was having, was the color wouldn't lock. That's why the board came out and he changed all the diodes. Now I don't know if changing them from germanium to silicon is going to kill it, but the first thing that needs to happen is that we need to do the alignment, and I can't do the color AFC alignment without the burst coil working. Since I spent most of yesterday sorting out a problem that I created and getting the jig set up, we can actually maybe concentrate on getting the original problem, which is a color sync issue, sorted out. So the first thing I need to do is try and get the core out of that thing, and that can either go right or go wrong. I'm going to try and break it up and pick it out with a pair of tweezers, but it's very delicate. I'm also going to ohm that coil out, because I think even with that core, well, it seems like it's down in there pretty far. You know, we should still get some color sync, and we're not getting any, like, hardly any burst through this thing. The burst is what locks the color, like an AFC type of thing. Alright, well, this didn't go so well. I ohmed it out, and there were a couple broken wires, and yeah, this thing got kind of tore up, you know. Again, I did not crack this core. I've learned the hard way to be very sort of gentle with these and not twist on them. So I got a couple broken wires here. I don't know if we're going to fix this or maybe try and have him find another one. Yeah, this guy's not going to work. It's got an open coil. That's probably the reason why we didn't have any sync. Let me think about this. Do I want to try and pull one out of my CTC 28 chassis for testing? I don't know if we could get this. Might be able to get it. Someone should have a good used one somewhere, hopefully. Alright, turns out I had one, and I found them on eBay. And they're like 20 bucks if you know what you're looking for. I'm also going to have him get me a new oscillator coil and send that to me. So let's see if we can do this quick alignment here of the chroma. I'll go over it with you in the video. But yeah, we're just going to basically peak a couple of these coils. Follow some instructions. Okay, this is in miscellaneous adjustments in Sam's. Connect DC probe of VTVM through a 470K resistor to point K. It's not quite a VTVM, but it probably behaves as one. Through a 470K, okay, to point K, adjust A15 for maximum deflection. Okay, before that it says to ground pin 2 and have a color bar generator ground pin 2 of this VTVM, adjust this for maximum deflection color bar generator. So let's see here. I will adjust it now. Okay. Now the next step is to remove the short. So we're going to remove the short. We just got the Barber Pulling Rainbow. Now it wants us to adjust this coil here, the one I replaced, for maximum. And it's not really doing much, which is no surprise because we're not getting much of a burst signal through it. So yeah, there's another problem here. Okay, I think it's going to be time to break out the scope later when the sun's off of us. Okay, nerdgasm time. I think I might have a lead on what's wrong with this, and thanks to this book, which I had to pull out and start studying. This explains here how to troubleshoot and how this chroma circuit works, and the burst amplifier here. And it works sort of like the FM, the detector in an FM radio, which here, as an example, he uses the 6JU6 diode tube, and this is a more modern set. It has the, well, he calls them crystal diodes. After reading how this whole thing worked, of course, on pin 1 and 3 there, you should have an equal positive and negative voltage. And then the center tap between those two resistors is the error correcting voltage to the oscillator tube. It goes to there. So it's literally a DC correcting voltage. It goes positive and negative to shift the oscillator. But it talks about right here, the reading at TP703 will be over 3 volts positive or negative. And he also talks about how you should have an equal positive and negative voltage on pin 1 and 3 of that tube. So I start measuring these voltages, and you can see that there's actually 3 sets of these diodes paralleled like this to adjust and fine-tune different things in the color demodulation. And on all of them I have almost equal positive and negative voltages, except the one that controls the oscillator tube. You can follow it around to right there. And on the top of R716 I have negative 11, and on the bottom I have 0. So I start checking. That's not the case on these other ones. And that gives me about 6 volts in the middle. So this tube doesn't respond to anything over plus or minus 3. It goes wacky. So And that's interesting. That explains why I can ground TP701. That's how you adjust the dial in the oscillator, the color oscillator coil. So I can ground that, and I can adjust the coil almost in the middle, and the bars, color bars, float. But as soon as I unground TP701, because it's going to 6 volts, it goes totally twacked again. So I start measuring, and I got, like I said, whatever, and then 0. And I start checking these diodes, and one of them is shorted, or appears to be shorted. So I'm checking this one right here, and I got 0.1 volt drop both ways on diode check. So I contacted the owner, and I said, what kind of diodes are these? Where did you get these? He said, oh, I got them off eBay. And as soon as I heard that, I'm just like, oh, counterfeit crap. And he looked them up, and he said, those are 1N34. Those are not 1N34. 1N34 are little clear glass germanium diodes, like 1N60. These are, I don't know what these are, but they're not 1N34. 1N914 or something. So instead of boring you with all the voltage checks and how I came to this conclusion, other than I guess we just pull that diode out, or I could show you the voltages. So on the test point here, I have 6.97 volts. Now keep in mind that should swing between positive and -3 in order to dial in and keep the oscillator locked. On this diode, I have 15.7. Now I should have -15.7 on the other diode and 0 in the middle. But on this diode, I have -0.07. And it's not the same way on the other diodes. I could really just go on a rant about buying electronic components, Chinese electronic components that are counterfeit from eBay and any of these other places. You gotta go to Mouser or DigiKey. And you might have to substitute. You might have to figure it out. You might pay a little bit more. But think of what this guy ended up paying to send this here and all of that, because he used counterfeit parts off of eBay. Just mind-blowing. Components off of eBay are counterfeit junk. These are 1N4448s. I took them off of this board, which is out of a mil-spec power supply. These are legit, good quality silicon diodes. They should work just fine in this. Alright, I had to install them on the bottom of the board because the leads were too short, but we know they are legitimate quality parts. That's what matters. Weird, so as it was warming up, it had color and then it went away. I wonder if the color killer is behaving different now that that load is not on that side of the thing anymore. Okay, here's another test straight out of that book. 220K resistor right there, color killer. Short it to ground. I'm just going to bypass that. We got 20 volts there. Short it to ground. Beautiful RCA color when you short that to ground. So for some reason the color killer is killing the color, and I got... Is this another bad diode? Because I'm adjusting it and it's just 20 volts. It's cut off. Well, apparently I've got another shorted diode. These diodes are for the color killer. I'm going to have to just change them all. That's weird, because that just shorted on the power up after I replaced the other diode. That's interesting. What kind of junk are these? And finally, holy crap, 50 hours later, We have success. What do we have on the menu for today? We have, yes, doesn't this look appetizing? Meat byproducts. Yes, meat byproducts. Do you like meat byproducts? So here's the real test. Look at how weak I can go on the RF. It just loses color sync right there. Look at that. Incredible. When it works, it works. Maybe we should do cathode current, since he replaced these capacitors, and I doubt he has a way to check that. We should do cathode current. That is the cathode current test socket, and you always want to sort of minimize this, but you want this to warm up as much as possible and stabilize, because this coil will get hot, and it's best to do this after it's run for 15 to 30 minutes in the cabinet. But of course it's the 4th of July, so we got all the entertainment. I'm gonna adjust it right now and we'll see. This helps the tube last longer. That's all that does. So now we'll get the crepe erase box and see if we can get our crepes erased. I'm tired of looking at this. You're gonna have the bad convergence. You're just gonna have bad convergence with the no convergence in this jig.
One of the biggest in Scandinavia. Gun violence there in Denmark is rare.
Well, Russia says it now has control over the last Ukrainian stronghold in an eastern province. A Ukrainian military official says his forces withdrew to save the lives of soldiers and civilians. But he vowed that will return to help the city defend itself. The president says the fight is still raging on the outskirts of the city. Getting control of that province is key for Russia. Its advantage in the Donbas region. Well, California Governor Gavin Newsom is running for re-election.
But his newest TV ad isn't even running here in California, it's running in Florida.
Freedom is under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight. Or join us in California.
What? Gavin Newsom is saying freedom is under attack? That guy needs to quit smoking fentanyl.
$1,000 to run the ad on Fox News. It begins airing tomorrow. Although Newsom has said he has no interest in running for president, this commercial is adding to the speculation that he is eyeing.
Oh yeah, I can see the United States electing the governor of California as president. Yeah.
People spending it still at the beach and down up here. Look at this. I mean, it is packed out there in Santa Monica. A lot of people still enjoying.
It just looks like crap without convergence. I don't know what to say. It looks like a big smudge.
So, if you have any outdoor plans for your Memorial or your 4th of July Monday, backdoor forecast showing us temperatures we can expect tomorrow. 72 degrees along the coast and mild also for the LA, Inland, Orange County, upper 80s. So a lot of these spots looking at below average temperatures.
Look at how far off the convergence is. Wow.
In the deserts tomorrow afternoon, and 74 keeping things comfortable in the mountains for tomorrow. Winds outside not too bad. Some of those spots are deserts seeing some breezy conditions and no advisories in place so right now. And satellite radar showing us mostly clear skies, but I want to show you what it's going to look like for those very important fireworks shows tomorrow.
Oh yes, very important.
Tracking show that some cloud cover will be moving in tomorrow morning, and it'll clear out very quickly. Look at this. By mid to late morning, things are really clearing out. And then by the evening hours, so you'll see that in those spots, really no issues. It's just a little bit of cloud cover along with
Let's see if I could find something else.
Feels good, it looks good.
Ooh, Hydro Boost.
It gives you gorgeous color. And Shannon, we got a long...
Crepe-tastic. This is good for adjusting the focus, because you can look at the fine print and adjust it so it's sharpest. Except with this, with no convergence, it's just a big smudge.
Buy one, get one. But here's the scoop. Most of us are going on AutoShip, because remember, that even though we're raising the price, AutoShip, we don't raise the price. If you want light, medium, or ship,
Gotta love digital TV. Gives me a Hydro Boost.
orange. It's your natural skin tone and skin color. And Shannon, it's a burst of plumping, hydration, aloe vera, purified water, all mixed with the very best formula of self-tanner that you'll find on the market.
Oh, release the bubbles.
Deepest, richest, longest lasting color.
Oh, all those plumpest, deepest, richest hydration.
It is so much better than anything I've ever tried, and trust me, I've been using self-tanners. I even used to have my own professional spray tan gun. Please promise me you'll try this. And oh, by the way, with free exchanges.
Ooh, rub it on, baby.
You're like, I should have done it on the medium dark.
Okay, let's see here. Let's touch this up since it's been running for a while. Let's see where we're at here.
It is always a treat to see you. Stay safe out there. Happy for the
Stay safe. I'm so sick of that crap. I want to be safe.
Thank you, Brett. We love you. All right. We also
Live in a frickin'
don't miss a moment of our
box.
here at HSN. You can get Appy by downloading the HSN app from the Apple Store or Google Play Store, and you can be first to check out the week's Today specials.
Yeah, looks like it's pretty stable.
Coupons and deals. So shop those new brands and product launches and get a sneak peek at who's who on our birthday guest list. Plus, you can unwrap extra special birthday surprises and more. It's all happening. Check them out and check back each week. All right, remember our weekly deal drops.
I mean, it's gonna look like crap. There's no convergence. It's just gonna look all smeared and...
With a brand new Today's Special. None of the offers that we're presenting in this show will no longer be available for this price. Free shipping on all of our weekly deal drops and free shipping on all of our Today's Specials throughout the month of July. This is something that I debuted with my friend Alexander Baker on Friday, and everybody went crazy. If you love the idea of snow globes, but you don't want to have to kind of shake it to wake it, this is new because not only for the first time in history, you can choose either a warm white light or a multicolor changing. So that's all under the same option. All you have to do is pick your scene of choice. So we have our snowmen in the front, we have our cardinals, we have our poinsettia, we have our gingerbread, and then we also have our woodland scene. So I'll kind of
Ooh, rotate it, honey. Show me the goods.
There's my poinsettia. Coming up, that's my cardinal. Oh, look at that. I love that. There's our snowman. And then, good for you. Place for everything. Everything in its place. Oh, I hope we're not too late. There's video cameras out there. Is that the news?
Oh, it's just some PR for the school. Is that all, Detective?
Franklin, when you get that sample away, and people just go crazy, like, oh, I didn't miss a beat. I can eat this and then get the same satisfaction I get from a traditional barbecue. Once we found out it was big and we were about to leave. And the guy said, well, hey, before you leave, just try some. And it was absolutely great. With the traditional meats versus the plant-based proteins, they're prepared a little different. We have chopped beef, which is a substitute for chopped beef, which everyone loves. It's made out of a soy protein. We also have links, and that's a pea protein for those who are not thrilled by the soy product. We take the time to break down every meat we have and put our seasoning inside of those meats. We use a wide array of seasoning and then put it on the smoker. We believe that our food is just as good as any traditional barbecue you'll have out there in the city of Houston, in the state of Texas, down south, the United States.
Don't knock it before you try it. The vegan barbecue is excellent, the sandwiches is good, and you think you eat meat.
Right now, our most popular item is the baked potato. Everyone loves to see the baked potato dressed up, and the fun part about the baked potato is you can also put not just the beef, but the links inside of the baked potato. With any of our sandwiches...
I don't know. Ooh.
Top 6 answers on the board. This is a fill in the blank.
50,000 watts of bass in my car. No more hearing by the time you're 25.
We'll give you a sample.
It sure looks a lot sharper. It looks a lot sharper to me than it does on the camera.
Last call on that for you. Take us to 625. We'll get her home. You won't be mad at me once you get that one home. You'll say, oh, Allison, I wish I could have grabbed two in two different colors. The thing is,
I mean, this is fun to play with, but...
From all around the Southland, streaming live throughout the night, right here on KCAL9 and on CBS News Los Angeles. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and here's another option for fireworks tomorrow. It's out in town, LA. Crews there were doing the final preparations today. The fireworks will be launched from the rooftop of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion.
Just bring that over here and lower that whole package right into a big console TV. Just roll that whole thing up and I'll just put the boxes in the back of a big combo unit.
Holiday cook-up tomorrow. The cost of groceries continues to go up. We've all seen it. We've all felt it.
We have felt it. The American Farm Bureau Federation says the price of an average 4th of July barbecue is up 17% from last year. Ground beef is up 36%. Chicken breasts are up 33%. Economists believe shoppers will change what they buy to save some money this year.
I'm trying to shop all the sales. Buy one, get one free. Whatever chicken was on sale, burgers on sale.
All right, I think we can call this a wrap.
And basically, that's it. We're going to buy some hamburgers. How's the sales going to work?
We also see people bouncing back from the pandemic and consuming perhaps a
800 lumens. Your living glow is 8,000 lumens. So just in our garage, I'd have to have 20 bulbs. I have 2 of these, by the way, but I'd have to have 20 bulbs to get the same amount of light. 41, so it's amazing when I can see everyone in the same dress. My mom just turned 60 literally last week, and when I finally showed her this dress,
Girls with curves.
She loves the solid black, and you know, it just makes me so happy to know that a woman of every age can wear this. Also, no matter her shape, no matter her size, style it her way. And I want to remind you about this fabric because, again, the fabric is I mean, how often...
Okay, I'm going to wrap this. I think we're good here. I think I'm going to send it back just the way it is. I'm not going to touch any of these coils. I've got the alignment pretty damn close. I just have to take the time to pack it so that it gets back safely. I'm very worried about that. Oh, he needs to buy a 3CU3 and probably replace that 6GH8. This is the only area right here that's got decent convergence. The rest of it's garbage. And it is so far off, it makes this picture look smeared. I want to take a second and show specifically how you adjust this oscillator coil, how you align that. And there's not much to it. So the first thing you do is you get your color there, and then you detonate your mortar and get all the car horns going in the neighborhood. So you get your color picture, you let it warm up for 5 or 10 minutes, then you get your color, and then you take a wire and you go from ground to right here. See right there, that little test point? And you clip on to here. So you ground that test point. Here goes another one. And then you get something like this. So then what you do is you want to adjust this coil so you get those to stand almost still. You want them to get to... So if it's way off, it'll be like this. Right? So that's way off. So you want to bring it in so that it's as... So you adjust that so it's as close as possible to standing still. And then you disconnect your ground and it locks right in. And that's how you adjust this. And you should probably adjust it anytime you change the tube or change the coil or do anything else. All of this other stuff's aligned. Don't touch that. Don't touch any of the other coils. Only really that one. If you change the tube or the coil. But that's it. It's deadlocked on perfect. I'm packaging this back up, and I took a little bit different of a route, and I hope it works. Schematics. Spongy foam. V8 with muffler taken off of it, and catalytic converter deleted, and EGR deleted, and PCV deleted, and all emissions components deleted, and running super rich, and Earth Killer 2021. Anyway, I got a bunch of this foam in the bottom, so it's sitting on foam, and then I got it packed here. I got the expensive tubes in this box, and I think this should have more cushion. I got a lot of this, got like 2 inches of this foam on the bottom, and the transformers at the bottom, so that it should help absorb any percussion. So I hope it makes it. The amount of time I spent on this thing, I just hope it makes it.